This is our part 2 to The Witcher. We covered episode 1 through 6 in the last one, and now we're covering the last 2, and hopefully we're going to be able to do an end theory and like a prediction of even the next season video after this. So we're just going to jump into it. Witcher time, go!
Everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. So we have our final 2 episodes of the season. I've played the games, have not read the books. I think I'm going to start with the Last Wish pretty soon. Nick has not have any of that background, so it's kind of fun to discuss
Wish,
these
you're
things.
already talking about the genie stuff again, huh?
Yeah, I guess I'm assuming that's what happens in this book. I don't know, but I think that's where the books start, and that was recommended by comments from our listeners. Someone said start with the Last Wish. So, by the way, those of you that have been commenting on the Witcher content, we appreciate it. We've had some people coming back from 2 years ago when we did season 1, so we really appreciate you guys joining us on this journey. So really, really fun stuff.
Yes. So we're going to be doing a VFX breakdown, no doubt about it. But
yeah, so that'll come at a later date. Yes,
John. What'd you think of the monsters, dude, coming out of the portal? Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, so it's obvious that, and again, we're going to try not to get into visual effects much, but it is obvious that they had a much higher budget this season. Because, I mean, I remember we did obviously have some CG creatures, but I think, at least thinking back to season 1 as best I can, we were getting some more practical type effects, whereas here we're getting some really hardcore CG creatures that look, really, really good. And as we were getting stuff coming out of the portals, they were getting progressively more and more advanced. And what's that?
Oh, I thought they were getting like older and older. Like, yeah, it's the dinosaur stage or whatever.
I mean, that too, but bigger and more massive and just crazier in general. It was just kind of fun to see it all building up and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I thought that was super cool. And since we're talking about VFX and other stuff, were you cool with the writers? The writers, remember when they go through the portal and it's like, we are the writers that ride around the desert.
We're talking about the Wild Hunt you're talking about.
Yes,
yeah?
the Wild Hunt.
So we are definitely not going in chronological order for these last 2 episodes.
No.
So we're talking,
spoilers.
We're jumping to one of the last shots or last sections of the section is Ciri basically takes him through a portal to another plane, and the Wild Hunt is there. And these guys are the main antagonists in the third Witcher game, and they're hinted at, and I'm assuming they're a big, kind of threat in the books as well. And yeah, you have them riding towards them. So I thought they looked pretty cool. Nick, you didn't like them. You thought they looked kind of silly?
It reminded me of a movie we talk about here called Lord of the Rings. I just saw like 9 of them riding, it looked like, and they're on horses, cloaking back. I just heard, like they're like reaching for the ring. And she's like, not today. And they went back to the portal.
And then Henry Cavill said, Mr. Frodo.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what?
Just let go.
And then that's when Henry Cavill bit off Ciri's finger.
Yeah. That's when the Eagles came and swooped them out.
Oh no.
I mean, how you can't mention, you have to mention Lord of the Rings when you talk about any type of fantasy, right? Like, I just feel like it's a given. Like, any fantasy, you got to mention it once. Like, meat's back on the menu, boys. Like, you just got to say something.
Well,
okay, John, go back.
It's funny when you have a good IP, you're gonna find if you see a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a castle. Oh, they're copying. There's a castle. It's like, well, no, it's like a medieval.
There's a
fantasy
princess.
Movie. Yeah, exactly. There's a princess. I mean, we had riders and they kind of had armored horses and they had armor that was kind of covered up and you can't see them. Well, maybe they're trying to look mysterious. But Nick, no, they're Nazgul. That's what Nick is jumping straight to. So what a jerk. You know what? So yeah, what a jerk.
It would have been hilarious if you saw like a white horse running too. It's like they crossed over to Middle Earth dimension and they're like, what?
You shall not pass to.
But it's just so interesting how they're like riding together in the middle of nowhere. Like they're like, let's ride this way. I just feel like something's gonna open around here. It's like, how do they know? How do they know?
Well, they are definitely depicted as these almost, I mean, at least in the third game, you get more info on them, but they are almost this supernatural force that just wipes out wherever they go. And you get that sense in the show as well. They're like the Wild Hunt is going through and they're just slaughtering everything in their path. And it's like this mythical thing that almost like the plague, it just wipes everybody out. And so they are depicted like that. And so in this way, like at least as you get an idea in the show so far, they're kind of that same thing. So it's kind of fun to, get a hint at that. And clearly I'm not going to go into too much territory here of, what the games might cover.
Yeah.
My understanding is, the Netflix show, they have licensed the book material. I don't think they have free reign of the game material, nor maybe would they even want to take it that path. So what I know of them may not be actually what is going to have happen in the show, but certain things definitely have happened the same way.
Yeah. No, from what I gathered too from reading stuff online.
So, which if it's online means it's completely true, Nick, right?
Wikipedia, right?
Yeah. So Nick had finished this season before I did, and Nick had said he goes,
I can't stop. I have a problem when it comes to Netflix shows. I must watch the whole show the same night it drops. Yes, I know. I have a problem. I need help. Is there a group I can join? Can you comment a number down below? I need help.
But so Nick had said, he goes, yeah, at least when Nick was talking about the season as a whole, when I was a little bit behind him, he was saying, he's like, yeah, I feel like it started to drag a little bit mid-season, but it picked up at the end and it was really, really fun. So since we're talking about the last 2 episodes specifically here, what did you really like about the last season that made you mention that to me? Is it just the pace, or, now that we have our Baba Yaga type character that we have here, was it that you really liked, or did you know what, by the way, did you get the Baba Yaga?
Kind of seeing all 3 of them together kind of thing. Like I think once all the characters, it's like Snatch, right? When all the characters meet, like, woo, yeah, everyone's paths cross. Like it was cool. They all met at that place of healing. Is that, or the Temple of Healing, or wherever that temple place they're at?
Yeah.
And obviously it was cool. Yennefer's story, like I get it. I don't know. I don't even know what her character's like in the video game, the books, or any of that stuff. But I loved how she is dealing with the thing she cherishes the most, which is her magic, and she is willing to do anything to get it back. And I just liked how she's willing to go that far. And yes, her character changes and develops, and it's all spoilers. It's all kind of okay at the end, but I just like the journey that she's on, and it's so funny because you think Witchers are established as the gray in this world, right? Very much where like they're killers and they only do it for the coin and stuff. But yet I feel like our Witcher, Henry Cavill, is very much the purest of hearts. It feels like than everyone else in the series. I feel like him and Ciri are the pure of heart ones, and Yennefer's the wild card,
Well, I mean, definitely, I think from what I understand with the books and with the games is the whole world is just painted in gray.
But he comes across as a little bit of the whiter side, like when it comes to.
And I think early on they try to show the progression of him, like he was very just like gritty and did it just for that. And now that we are, and I'm sure that was part of his arc they had intended for him, in season 1, was that you first see him kind of starting off to where you're seeing him become this, when you go through the Trial of the Grasses, and they didn't talk about this quite as much in season 2. I think they talked about
is that to become a Witcher?
Yes, that's to become a Witcher. So the Trial of Grasses is all the toxins and the training and things they put you through. And when you have these toxins and you become more powerful, you can learn signs and you become a mutant.
Magic.
You do along the way lose a lot of your emotions. So you still have some emotions, but you're desensitized to a lot of things. You don't feel things the way like a regular human would. And so in that regard, sometimes I feel like the emotion they're showing in the show is maybe more than a Witcher would. But I think at the beginning of season 1, from what I recall, it was more just a typical Witcher. And then as he's going along, you're seeing him develop as almost like regaining his humanity through this, And so, yeah, I mean, they're definitely painting him to be over time as a protagonist. Though obviously we get reminded of him, him being a Witcher as we're going along for sure.
Yes, the glowing eyes, the thing around his neck.
Yeah, that kind of helps a little bit. Drinking poison makes you stronger, that type of stuff, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the big bad, the villain.
Yeah.
Which was a witch, which really wasn't the big bad until, I guess you got to see her Emperor Palpatine things, like if they're on there, like she's the big bad behind the scene, like, lightning, I gotcha, but she's like going into other people's bodies and all that jazz and fun stuff. But were you a fan of the villain?
Well, I definitely, and I think a lot of people did too. They didn't call her Baba Yaga in this, but I think it's Slavic.
Oh, it's totally Baba Yaga though. I mean,
yeah,
her house has freaking chicken
yeah. I
legs.
mean, did you already were you already familiar with Baba Yaga before this, or is this something you looked up before
All
this?
thanks to our Howl's Moving Castle podcast. I
Oh, okay.
got all the Baba Yaga stuff I need to because John's like, the Howl's Moving Castle reminds me of Baba Yaga with the chicken
Oh,
legs.
I didn't remember I mentioned that, but yeah, I mean, Baba Yaga is something in some different mythology that
It's
I
like in
read.
every culture though, right? There's like a witch in the woods. I believe it's like something that's almost in every culture of that kind of thing too. It's kind of like not dinosaurs or dragons or like I guess like dragons, like there's dragons in every type of culture kind of thing, and there's like a story that carries on. Like Baba Yaga is kind of like a Hansel and Gretel. There's witch in the woods kind of thing that lures people in with the deals and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, this was very specific as far as the hut that had the legs and things like that.
Yeah,
and
they went full Baba
yeah,
Yaga.
yeah. But you know what? I thought it was interesting. I didn't like it as much. So you had asked me when we were through season 6 or episode 6, I think. Did you like? Do you like this witch whatever? Something like I don't really
Yeah,
know
I know. I
enough
was trying to get vibes from you.
because I was like I don't really feel like I have enough to like. She's just pushing the story forward, but I have no
Yeah.
idea what she's about or anything. And we definitely got that. Like she's one of the first demons that the Witchers had in prison, and she could never get out of this hut. It's like all right, cool. And they did get some really cool, like they gave justification for why they brought her into the story. It's because she had been in prison there forever. She could not get out, but Ciri's kind of crushing of the monoliths and being able to open portals had kind of reinvigorated her wanting to, because now she had a way that she could get out of this plane and back to wherever she came from because she knew that Ciri could do that. So it's like, it kind of drew importance to like, all right, why would the Wild Hunt be looking for her? And why would all these
I guess
other...
she's one of the Wild Hunts, right?
No, she's not part of the Wild. I mean, the Wild Hunt are these specific, the writers.
But
that
she
you're kind of seeing.
she transformed into a writer though.
She didn't transform into a
Yeah,
writer.
remember like she leaves Yennefer's body and she goes to the horse where there's no one on it, and then like a body forms on the horse.
I don't know if she's...
I'm just saying, like, I mean, she becomes a writer, so I mean, unless she's like, "Oh, do you guys need a drummer? I know how to drum. Let's join the band." I mean, I don't know what's
It's funny
going on.
that little section came and went so fast.
Very fast.
I was just focusing on them
Yeah.
on there. Yeah, so
They were
maybe
only
I have
there
to
for like a minute max.
Yeah. And I think that was just to introduce, like, hey, the Wild Hunt is still this,
And to get her
main-
powers back, Yennefer's powers.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? Because of the context that she brought to, hey, you know what? Ciri's powers are drawing attention from everywhere, and the Wild Hunt is going to find her basically because she can't control her powers, and she's going to draw attention. And so in that regard, I feel like she was a good character because she kind of confirmed that. But until the very, very end, I don't know. You've asked me this question.
It was just weird. It was just too quick. Like the villain was there and gone. It's like, didn't we get a chance to? I mean, I feel like the best villains, like Daredevil. Did you watch Daredevil?
No, I didn't watch Daredevil.
So in Daredevil, you have Kingpin, and there's episodes dedicated to Kingpin's backstory, and you just become like, this character is so cool, where you're kind of almost rooting for Kingpin sometimes. You know what I mean? But it's like you're already connected, so when the dramatic tension happens, you're like really involved, right? You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, I kind of want them both to win. You're kind of like playing the middle card, but it was just so quick. It was like there and back again. Hobbit's Tale.
Which, I mean, you don't always need to have your characters completely developed. I mean, we did get a good, huge
if it's
episode
the
of
main
her.
villain, though, like literally this villain is taking over Ciri's body. Like you would want, I think, a little bit more context, or even like a couple episodes backstory. They wasted it on other characters. It would have been cool to understand how this witch was there, or enter the world, or the Elder Blood, or something like that.
Well, I mean, she's the main villain in that she had, Frangilla and these other side characters. She had pushed them down their paths and things like that. And she did cause some pain. She's not like, for the series as a whole, she's not a main villain, right? That's still kind of, as far as we know right now, the Wild Hunt. And she did help bring attention
who would be
to
the main villain then, if she's not?
Well, I think it's going to be I mean, it's
in
the Wild
movie.
In this series.
In this season, sorry.
In this season. Well, you know what? In this season, I'm not sure if we had You know what? I'm not sure if we have.
Yeah, it's the witch.
Well, she definitely got people. I almost feel like she was a plot device that got people on their paths.
Oh.
You know, she got Frangella and the elf, you know, Francesca, you know, going down their path. And then, yeah, she was feeding off of their misery and things like that. And she did possess Ciri and kill a lot of the witchers and things like that. But
yeah, so how many witches are left?
Boy, they're dropping like flies, aren't they?
Literally, when she first got there, they're like, how many witchers are here? And he's like, 20 or something like that. I'm like, wow, 20. And I know I at least saw like 15 die, it felt like. So
Well, so in the games at least, and again, I can't attest to this for the books and things like that, but in the games, there's different schools of witchers. So at Kaer Morhen, there's a group of witchers. At other locations, there's other groups
so
of
it's like
witchers.
Hogwarts. There's different like wizarding schools around the world.
Yeah, that's actually a good, because I didn't even know there was other schools like that until you told me. I'm like, oh, okay, there's other schools. So, I mean, well, like Quidditch,
it's
I
mentioned
guess,
in the movies, but
Yeah, in Quidditch, yeah.
Anyways, just skip. We don't need to. We don't need to.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about Harry Potter. This is so much cooler, right? With the swords. I'm just kidding.
But so technically, I guess there is. But it's funny in the shows, and if you guys haven't seen the animated Netflix movie that focuses in on Vesemir, that's actually quite cool as well. But they make it sound like those are the only witchers in existence. But then in the games, there's more. So it's interesting that that's kind of the way it's portrayed. But
okay,
yeah.
major spoilers here. Major spoilers at the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Her dad's still alive. What did you think about that?
Well, so this is going back to the game stuff, to where if they were going to follow the game, then I already knew that was.
Did you
gonna
know
be him.
though? Did you know he was the dad the whole time? Like when they would show the back of
Well,
the head?
I mean, that was the first time. Yes, I mean, if they were going to follow the games, I knew that Emir was going to be the father. But there's no guarantee they're going to follow the games, you know. So I had no idea until they actually revealed that to be the case. That's kind of encouraging to me, because I'm assuming that came from the books, and then the games used that, and that becomes a huge, you know, plot device as far as. Now she obviously is being sought out, not just for the Emir because it's his daughter, but is he using her for political reasons? Are other people going to want to? And you got this in the episode, you know, was it Dykstra, or I forgot the guy's name, but the advisor for one of the other, you know, political guys. It's like, yeah, we could marry her and get, you know, political power through her. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. I feel like there's no big bad necessarily in this. It's like everybody
Except
has
for
an
a
agenda,
dad
and
now.
everybody's
It's
the big
total
bad.
Star Wars now, huh? Luke, I am your father.
Again, Nick
dad's
has
the
to
bad guy.
Nick
But,
has to connect it to another huge franchise.
So basically, this is gonna be good for season 3 though, because she's probably gonna find out her dad's still alive, but she's gonna choose her other family probably compared to her bad family now.
It depends on how it goes. So in the games,
I
at
feel
least,
like she's so connected now to what's his name? The Henry Cavill's Gerald.
you say I have a bad memory. You can't remember the main protagonist of our story.
I
Take
get
some
confused.
guesses. Take some guesses.
Gerald.
Gerald, Jerry the Witcher, Geralt.
Geralt.
Yeah,
There you go.
Geralt. But yeah,
Geralt.
what were you saying?
Yennefer. I've been doing Yennefer in series.
Yeah,
no,
you've been
no
doing a
problem.
good job. Yeah.
I just always see Henry Cavill. And
Yeah,
I still
no,
see him
that's
as Henry
true.
Cavill.
Yeah.
But what was it?
You were just saying that she would choose him over the Emir.
Yeah,
for
I just feel
father
like
figure.
through this story they grew so much. There was obviously this season followed more character development than story plot. It was more character developing, and I just feel like the connection that's made, she has to trust him more than anything right now.
Well,
I mean, Yennefer, it's like, but she like he came to her rescue. I don't know how many times now, and he knows that she's priority over even Yennefer. I feel like almost.
Yeah.
Even though he loves Yennefer, and there's like things you're like, oh no, is he just gonna elope with Yennefer and like forget about Ciri? But he's always been there for Ciri first, which has been really cool.
Well, you've got to remember that, and they have hinted at this in the series quite a bit, is there's a very big idea of destiny, and, you know, you can't escape that, whether it's the genie or Yennefer and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how it even ends in the game, because there's like 4 or 5 or 6 different variations of the ending in the game. And depending on how you finish in the game, Ciri might stay with Geralt, or she might go with the Emir, or she might end up never coming back to, you know. So how they end up ending this series is completely up to showrunners, which I like because, again, Nick and I were talking about, and by the way, we've had some, again, great comments from people who have joined us in season 1 or coming back in season 2. And some people are really disappointed that they're not following the books more. And, but Nick and I, somewhat agree that like one of our favorite episodes was episode 1. And from what someone had told us,
that's probably my favorite episode.
Yeah, favorite episode. And someone had told us, aside from Siri being there, they were saying like, yeah, aside from Siri not being there in the book, that story very much came from the books, and they weren't sure why they weren't following the books more. But we have more reason to wonder how it's going to turn out, not having followed the books or the games necessarily. So I think that is kind of a fun thing. But yeah, I'm assuming the way that they're pacing this and the relationships that they're forming, unless they start to form this relationship with the Emir, in later seasons, then maybe, or, as they often do in all kinds of series that go on for many seasons, is they start to put conflict and doubt in the relationships. And maybe there is going to be doubt and conflict in Ciri's relationship with Geralt, and to where it's like maybe she doesn't want to always be with him, So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. So I mean, what do you think? Like, based on this, what do you think is going to be the path of all this?
Cowboy Bebop just got canceled. If this gets enough hate, season 3 might get canceled. So I don't know. Just kidding. No, just kidding.
Do you think this hasn't done well, or do you think people are enjoying it?
I don't know. Well? I mean, they're throwing money at it for sure. Like we talked about in the first one, they're throwing more money at it, but they threw a lot of money at Cowboy Bebop and they canceled it because of the fans' reaction. And it feels pretty split from what I've gathered on the internet with this show, but the hardcore fans are what keeps the show alive, right? Like, Futurama, it's been canceled so many times, but then the fans are like, bring it back, and they brought it back 3 times just for the fans kind of thing, and it stayed there. Where like if the main hardcore fans of the Witcher stuff isn't behind it, I mean, you have people like us who are like, oh yeah, it's cool, but I'm not like, oh, I can't wait for season 3. It's just like, yeah, when it comes out, I'll watch it. It's just like, it's not like I'm like craving more of it kind of thing.
Well, so HBO Max has Game of Thrones, right? And then you have Amazon has Lord of the Rings. I feel like The Witcher is their version of this. And if you go on Netflix, they have bundled in its own thing, World of the Witcher, where they have season 1, season 2, they have their animated, they have the prequel. I think they're all in on Witcher content because it is a very, especially the demographic, you think. Like if they're shooting for, what is the age range? 18 to whatever, males especially. Like that's the gaming audience, and the gaming audience tends to love, the Witcher franchise. And so they already have that built in. And it seems like the first season did well enough to warrant a much more expensive second season. So I think they're going to be all in on this. And
okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
More dragons and animals and monsters from other portals. That's what I see in the third season.
Well, I'm really curious to see how many seasons this is going to be, because so Ciri in the mainline game in The Witcher 3 is much older. And so I don't know if they're meaning to just cover that same kind of stuff, now.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how many seasons this is meant to be, because it seems like the Wild Hunt's already very much present in this as far as getting after, and they're dropping hints that they're going to become. So curious, are we going to get 3?
I did really like
seasons?
The snow in season 2.
I
just really liked
cool
how
stuff.
it's like a different season, basically, like a season of the year, not like like season 2.
But yeah, so you guys, we're going to be doing more content on The Witcher. We're
going to be doing a VFX breakdown, though. That's one thing we're going to be doing for sure. So subscribe. We're going to be going frame by frame. We already did this in the first one, and we were like, some stuff, it's like, okay, they got away with it, but this one already, just by the first episode alone, I was just like, whoa, we're watching a different show when it comes to the quality and standards here. So I'm super excited to go through some frame by frames.
Yeah, and the effects work in the first season was still wonderful. I mean, the matte paintings were beautiful. The character designs and the monster designs were great. It's just, you could tell that they didn't have the budget. And it's obviously, it's an annoying thing. The budget on the second season is vastly higher than it was on the first one. So you can't expect it to look, season 1 to look like season 2. But like Nick was saying in our episode 1 through 6 review, it's like, yeah, now they're in line with Marvel, episodes, and it
Budget
shows
wise.
for sure. Your budget wise,
Marvel looks good, dude. Like there's some episodes from Yoki or Loki Yoki
I was like, what?
Loki that are just incredible, and like even the Wanda Vision stuff. It's just like they have a full on CG like Vision fight in the sky. Like that's like Marvel ending movie quality stuff that they're doing as a TV show now, which is just incredible.
But
And
really,
you have
really,
the Mandalorian, the freaking Mandalorian that looks amazing.
and it'll be very interesting. I think the one thing that the Mandalorian is doing that other people aren't doing right now, at least that we know of, that's publicly talked about a lot, is the virtual production stuff. And I'll be curious if we'll start to see other shows, whether it's Disney or otherwise, start to really pick that stuff up and start to use a lot more virtual production. That can be really helpful to the actors and actresses as well. So that'll be interesting. All right, guys. So we're definitely going to have a visual effects breakdown headed your way as far as the Witcher season 2. Definitely check out the podcast where we're doing more auditory deep dives into the world of The Witcher. Check out asart.space for all the audio and video links, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.